Good morning, everyone. Hope you had a moment to grab some coffee. Come on in, grab a seat. We're going to take the next 15 minutes just to share a little bit about conference and Oak and hear from our Kentucky State University hosts. So please come on in, get comfortable, move around as you need. We're just so excited to have you here today. So, welcome everyone to the 14th Annual Oak Conference. We enjoyed a really full day of incredible workshops yesterday and are ready to share this time together today and tomorrow for the General Oak Conference. We're grateful to our conference sponsors who support this event in an incredibly significant way, many of them year after year, because they deeply believe in this work and what you are doing on your farms and in your careers. They're here to support your success, so please connect with them in the trade show and find resources and services that will advance your work. Also, huge gratitude to Kentucky State University for hosting us all here in this beautiful facility. And to the audiovisual team in the back that is really working their magic to keep everything beautiful and seamless for us, and the farm team that's doing everything in the background to make it go off so smoothly. We are just so grateful to be here in your beautiful space. So it's an honor to introduce Dr. Avinash Tope, Associate Dean, Associate Professor in the Human Nutrition and Food Safety in the College of Agriculture, Health, and Natural Resources here at KSU, for our welcome.
Good morning. We can do better. Good morning. Welcome to Kentucky State University again. We are extremely happy to host this conference and have been doing so for the past few years. This is one occasion that we truly look forward to having you all here on our beautiful facility, and thanks Brooke for acknowledging it as one. We have, if any one of you is new to the conference, we do have an organic plot out there. Please take a few minutes to visit it. This is so nice that everything under the organic domain is getting represented here. In all aspects of organic agriculture is getting represented here. And honestly, this is the kind of relationship, this is the kind of collaborations that we truly look forward to year over year. I am representing Kentucky State University and representing my dean, Dr. Marcus Bernard, and the president, Dr. Kofi C. Akapo. I wouldn't call it unfortunately. They are on a different mission visiting Mali in Africa through USAID. And I am excited to see what both of them are going to bring back in terms of next level of collaborations and student growth, how USAID wants us to collaborate in that pocket of the globe, and what else is in store in terms of exciting possibilities. Needless to mention, whatever those possibilities would be, and if they do fall in the organic domain, I exactly know where to reach and see how best we can elevate the level of collaboration further. I'm not going to take too much of your time. I know the day is full of exciting programs. Welcome to 2025 Annual Meeting of Organic Association of Kentucky. KSU is proud to have you here and to host you all in this facility. Wishing you the best for the rest of the year, and let's look forward to Thank you. Jim, thank you. So this is one of my programs here. If you are new, if you are attending for the first time, this is what we offer. This is what my group offers. We have 4 different labs across the Commonwealth. One located in Eastern Kentucky, in Whitesburg. One is on my campus in my lab. One happens to be in LaRue County, Hopkinsville. And one of the most active labs is out there in Western Kentucky at Bowling Green. That QR code should walk you through what exactly this program is about. It is about irrigation water testing and microbial quality of irrigation water. We know irrigation water is the heart and soul of everything we do when it comes to farming. And this is being driven by USDA, funded by USDA. So if you take the picture of the QR code, it will walk you through all the details on this program. Welcome to the annual meeting. Thanks for being here. Have a good day.
All right. So I have just a few updates to share with you about Oak's programs. I know there are a lot of familiar faces, a lot of new faces, and we always like to share just a little bit of an update. So for the next 10 minutes, I'm going to share some of those services and programs that are available to Kentucky farmers and how we collaborate with partners to offer all the things that we do. First, though, I would be remiss if I did not talk about these collaborators and supporters of the Oak Conference. They do this they support the conference in every year in ways that are meaningful to them, to Oak, and ultimately for you all. They make this possible. So a special shout out to Southern SARE, Kentucky SARE, State Model Program, Grow Appalachia, and the University of Kentucky Martin Gatton College of Agriculture for all of their scholarship support. You all need to know that over a third of the people attending the conference are here on a scholarship, and that is just remarkable. So, yeah. We are really lucky, y'all, and with the support of all of our sponsors, we're able to keep this conference as one of the most affordable organic farming conferences nationally and certainly in the region. So anyways, just know that that is happening behind the scenes. So share your love when you can. Also, I want to share a huge shout out to all of these humble, knowledgeable, and dedicated speakers. They traveled from near and far and giving a lot of time and expertise to share in these conversations with you all, some of them vulnerable, some of them challenging. And they're here with a lot of generosity and sharing their experiences with you all in these days. We're going to make this look a little prettier for the panel later, so just thank you, thank you. And then also just, I want to recognize our incredible Oak team. We've grown a bit over the past year, and I encourage you all to connect with these fine folks when you have the time and interest. I'll highlight some of the services and programs they're stewarding that might be of interest to you in a minute. We're all here today. Ask any of us how we can help, and we'll get you to the right person. And just please know you can reach out to us anytime about anything. I want to share a special moment of appreciation with Jenny Howard Owen and Shannon Post, who coordinated absolutely every single piece of the detail for these 3 days together. Yeah, that includes like all 75 speakers, all site logistics, all communications and social media. It is a behemoth lift, and we couldn't do it without them. And also to the entire Oak team who's supporting this event all year and especially this week. And so finally, thank you to you all for being here, for taking the time to learn, connect, and find ways to deepen your work together and on your farms. It's so important to be intentional and take the time to commit to the community and your practice, to embrace these opportunities and know your people when you're in a sector that can be sometimes isolating for so much of the year. So I've been thinking about this a lot lately, about resilience and tenacity and what it takes to keep moving forward, how important it is that we remain resilient, persistent in these times. And as we've seen the floods floodwaters rise or fires burn and policies change around us and our neighbors, I'm really grateful to live and work among you all who are ever determined and ever passionate farmers, ag professionals, partners, and community members, and certainly my colleagues. Use these days to learn and network, find ways that you want to make a change here at home, in your communities, and if you feel so motivated to speak up about state and federal policies, there are ample opportunities to plug into those with ongoing work and organizations, and I'll share a little bit about it today as we go. So thank you all for being here today with us. I'm going to share a quick overview of some programs, and it might be quicker than I want it to be because of timing, but here we are. So Oak started as a nonprofit founded by farmers. Early beginnings in 2009. I got the original email yesterday of the original cohort of folks who started it, but not a nonprofit until 2015. And we're here to advance organic agriculture opportunities in the state. We do this because it has a lot of benefits for the environment, for conservation, for human health, community health, and economic rural prosperity. We are a nonprofit membership organization, so we have about 400 members across the state. And membership comes with a whole host of benefits, one of which is the annual membership meeting tonight, 5:30 to 7:30. So if you're not yet registered for that, check in with Robin at the front table. And talk to her about membership for any questions. But Oak is also here for a lot of folks who are not members. So our programs engage about 3,000 people annually across the state and outside of the state, and these are all types of folks who are interested in organic practices, market development, and advocating for a strong rural agrarian economy. Everyone provides feedback and input into what Oak should be doing. So all those survey requests we've sent your way, fill them out. We take it to heart. We develop programs based on what you need as a stakeholder member, as a program participant, as a farmer in Kentucky. And so these are our priority areas, and it has stayed pretty steady and strong for the past 5 years. We've been lucky to be able to really build on this input and launch 5 new or expanded programs in the past year. So I'm going to share a little bit about that now. You're all here for the conference. You know about it. One thing I want to point out is that here at KSU, we've been able to host almost 400 people each year for the past 3 years and provide quite a lot of scholarships. But it's important to know we have a high percentage of beginning farmers and just farmers in general participating in our programs. That makes this conference incredibly unique. So tell us what you love, tell us what you want next year. We will do it. We're actually writing a grant next week about what we're going to do for conference next year. So quite literally, tell us who you want to hear from next year, and we'll put it in there. So save the date. We'll be in Shepherdsville, January 29th through the 31st next year. We'll have a big trade show at new location, and we're really excited. Okay. So Farmer Field Days, we offer throughout the growing season. We love getting a big group out onto farms, so please join us. We do have 4 already on the schedule for this year and more to come. Our Organic Transition Technical Assistance Program has been growing rapidly over the past year. We worked with over 40 farmers for organic certification technical assistance, and we do this one-on-one, working with farmers for free. So if you have any questions about organic certification, just reach out anytime, and Kenya will give you all the details you're looking for. We also launched this past year an organic farmer mentorship program. This is also part of the Midwest Transition to Organic Partnership Program. And this offers one-on-one mentee-mentor pairing for the year. And it's a lot more in-depth behind the scenes, what it takes to become an organic farmer. So if you're interested in this, please also talk to Kenya. We're currently making those mentor-mentee pairs for the next year. We also launched this past year an organic production technical assistance program. So this is for commercial farmers who have any production questions that are interested in certified organic production or using organic practices. So this is Sarah Gerkink is our organic production specialist and can work with farmers one-on-one for crop plans or pest and ID, pest and disease identification, tissue sampling, soil sampling, et cetera. So please reach out to her if you're interested in that. Also last year, we launched our Soil Health and Climate Smart project. We were really lucky to be funded through USDA for this project, and we're able to, we work with 50 farms this past year. We'll be enrolling 75 farms in this project this year. So if you're interested, if you're a commercial farm, interested in conservation practices on the farm, expanding your conservation practices on the farm, then come talk to myself or Lee or Marissa or Annie or Jackson about this project. We'd love to get you enrolled. We are able to pay farmers up to $5,000 a year for implementing conservation practices, and farms can enroll for the next 4 years. So that's up to $20,000 over the next 4 years. And we're doing a lot of sort of data collection and ecosystem services marketing activities around this, trying to build really durable markets for these commodities coming off of enrolled acres. So yes, applications are open for that now. It's all on our website. Everything about all these programs is on our website. So give us a shout, scan the QR code, apply, let us know if you're interested. And running out of time, but getting close to the end here. Kentucky Farm Share Coalition is our CSA Workplace Wellness Program. We've been stewarding this project for a long time. It's a collaborative, a coalition of farmers who grow community-supported agriculture and collaborate with employers throughout the state. This project, since its inception, has created the opportunity for over $4.1 million of CSA to be sold in Kentucky. This is really incredible, and it's also a great example of reaching new CSA members. So if you have a CSA, please talk with Katie or Dee about this program. We also collaborate on the statewide virtual CSA promotion for the virtual CSA fair, and that's just coming up. So, so keep an eye out for that information if you want to be involved. And finally, we do a little bit of food and farm policy advocacy work. We really rely on the expertise of these in-state and national partners, but this is a time, it's a Farm Bill year, right? We have a lot that we can advocate for in this space and make sure that there is funding and programs and technical assistance available for farmers, both here in Kentucky and nationally. So last year, I was lucky to get to go to DC with the Organic Farmers Association. I sit on the governing council board. We did take Kentucky Farmer with us, Bryce, one of our board members, and we'll be going back in early March. So if you have something you'd like our representatives to know, please let me know. We'll take that message with us, and we encourage you to stay involved throughout this Farm Bill year. So that's the end. I'm 3 minutes over, not too bad. Tonight at the Oak annual membership meeting, I'll get into more details about what we really accomplished with metrics in '24 and what's on the horizon in '25 and what those opportunities and challenges look like. So if you're interested to know more, come there. We're also launching into a strategic planning process this year, and so our members will have a more in-depth opportunity to share input on that strategic planning process. So be there if you're interested in those things. We're really grateful that you're all here today. Thank you for giving your time and generosity to this experience, everyone. And yeah, enjoy the day.
Yeah, I got the cool headset this year. All power. Okay, first things first. I'm at the front of the room, so have your happiest smile, because here you go into a panoramic photo. It's going to be shared across the world on this thing we found called the World Wide Web. Nobody's sitting in the front row. We're going to have to AI that in or something. Good morning, everybody. I am Jenny, aforementioned as one of the organizers for the conference. And although there are a couple of us who know all the details, There are like 1 million of people who have put in time and energy and love and food and farming. And yeah, it's just amazing to bring the year together with all of you every January. So thank you very much for being a part of this. I have a couple of logistical things I want to share with you, and then we will move on to the opening farmer panel. So on the agenda, only major change is a very small one for you all, bigger for us on the organizing end, but just so you know, 2:45 this afternoon, there is a session on PFAS, the forever plastics and chemicals, and we will have 2 of those speakers joining us virtually. So all speakers will join us who are on the agenda. Tom Fitzgerald and Jamie Young-Wise will both join via Zoom. So just prepare yourself for whatever that means in the user experience. We are, as Brooke mentioned, built around community and built around your voice as part of that community. If you've been to any of our events in the past or received our newsletters or even opened that program that you have in front of you, you'll see that we're always asking for survey feedback. We're always asking you person to person, and that feedback is what we use to form the field days, the conference, all of these programs that we write grants to fund. Everything that we're giving back is because those early farmers focused on farmers at the beginning of Oak, and that has always been and always will be what our work is. And the ag professionals who are serving those farmers in the room, your voice is equally important, whether you're at the beginning of that farming or ag professional career, whether you have a few years in and a little bit more knowledge of what it takes, or whether you're in it for decades, your voice really matters to what we build together. So I'm going to ask you to look into those surveys. If you're into QR codes, you'll get them that way. You'll get them through email. We've got them at the table in print form if you choose that. Or you can find me sometime when I'm not running really fast down the hallway and share your thoughts with any of us on staff or on the board. And we're grateful for that. That listening also is happening this year in a new way. As you walk down the hallway to the bathroom or even farther into the lunch line today, you'll see on the wall that we have these big splashes of flashcards and Post-it notes. We're inviting you to answer the prompt of what you're taking away from this conference and what's inspiring you at this conference, and put it on that wall. So if nothing else, you can do that. If you hear that Ellen Polishuk quote or that other farmer quote that you're just, oh my gosh, that needs to be on a bumper sticker. I did hear that really yesterday from somebody. Put it on that wall and we'll build that into our feedback. So thank you for all of that. The community that we are built around, formed from, and always supporting comes out in a lot of ways from Oak as farmer education for production and all of the logistics around production, helping grazers, helping growers, helping marketing in all of those spaces. And yet, we all know that farming and the life of farming and food and farming systems are built around lots more than the logistics and details of those crop plans and grazing rotations, right? It's so much more than production. And so that's what I'd like to invite a handful of people to the stage to help me in diving into a little more this morning. On the stage in front of you, you will have over a century of experience in food and farming in Kentucky and beyond. And they've really put in a lot of time to help share that story of theirs that they bring to you this morning. So I'm going to allow each of them to introduce themselves and their farms and their work, and then we have an esteemed moderator who will guide the conversation from there. So again, thank you all. Share your voice with us. Thank you all for sharing your voice with us. It's not an easy thing to get up on a stage in front of 300 people, so welcome them, please. I get caught up in the community and feedback and forget the logistics. So we are going to use a tool this morning to guide the question and answer of this and other sessions in the next 2 days. This tool is called Slido. It's an app that is accessible on your phone. We have a QR code that's on page 4 of your program. There are a couple of QR codes there, so look for the one on page 4 in the box that says Engage with Slido. So once you get into Slido, you will see that it's Oak 2025, and you'll be able to pull down the opening session. At the top, there's a pull-down menu, drop-down menu. And for those of you who are not into QR codes and Slido apps and using your phone, we've got some folks in the audience. I see Linnell just stood up and Cassia just stood up over in the corner. When we get to the Q&A, they will be circulating. I will also be circulating. And the point of Slido is to crowdsource what you want to hear from this group of people. So you can type into that app your question, and then anybody else who's using the app can upvote and say, yes, I want to hear more about that, or downvote, no, I'd rather hear that other thing, any of those already written questions. And those are the questions based on majority input that we will hear from the presenters at the end in the question and answer period. All right, so if that doesn't make sense to you, raise your hand and we'll have somebody come around and help you, and especially towards the end in the question and answer. Thanks.
Good morning. Thank you so much for starting your morning here with this panel. My name's Lisa Manixma. I have spent most of the last 20 years in Kentucky, a lot of that working on farms or having my own far too large garden. And I've been working in food systems since 2008. Since I was last here with you all a year ago, I have been doing some long-term travel and have been exploring farming on the West Coast. And in, I suppose, sort of real life, I'm also a writer, a communications and project manager, and facilitator, and most of that work is in the food system. I also had a podcast for about 3.5 years called Hobby Farms Presents Growing Good, and it was a podcast about farming and food systems. Jenny Howard Owen has been a guest on the podcast, as have a number of people in this room, and I'm pretty sure that's what landed me in this seat today. So I'd like to just go down the line here and have the panelists introduce themselves, and then we'll get into some questions that we already have ready to go for the panelists, and then we will get into the questions that you all are submitting on the Slido app.
Good morning. Good morning, folks. My name is Keith McKenzie, and I'm really excited to be here when I received a call from Oak to come out and share a little bit about my experience as a farmer. I couldn't get here fast enough. I think over the years that we've been graciously given a lot of information and shared experience, and so nothing would do my heart more to be able to give back and to share what I've learned with others as well. I'll try to be brief. I think it's something I can accomplish. My journey exists with Clark County, Alabama, which is about 80, 90 miles north of Mobile, Alabama. Today, my family is still stewards of 2 acres of land that's been said to be passed down from generation to generation in southern Alabama. The land is not to be sold. Folks are not buying or selling land that much anymore. So my family moves up to Kentucky, and then as we fast forward, I find myself in Davis County, McLean County, and we purchased 32 acres in McLean County, and we're about 2 miles north of Charlie's Compost. You guys familiar with Charlie's Compost? And so we attempted to grow nursery stock for a number of years, and then we found ourselves here moving to Louisville to complete my schooling in social work. And then I found myself in 2004 buying our first tract of land in Breckinridge County. And we struggled for years to make sense of that, and then we found ourselves concluding that we wanted to be able to create a farming experience, a farm or piece of property of folks who would like to experience a farm. They will get or have an opportunity to do so. And we wanted to ground that in a series of practices that's been vetted and found it to be best practices. And so that's when we found ourselves engaging in the organic certification. And I don't know if it was a blessing or a curse. That's when I met Tony Silvermill, and I'm like, good Lord. And here we are today. I called Tony, I'm telling him a couple weeks ago, and he ghosted me. I said, that's Tony. But I wouldn't have it any other way, because I find myself here today being able to share my experience as a organic farmer.
Does that work? There we go. Sorry. Yeah, I'm Larry Brandenburg with Harmony Fields Farm in Shelbyville, Kentucky. I'm a native Kentuckian. I grew up in Lexington, Fayette County. And if you are going south on I-75, right past the Athens-Boonesboro exit, the next road you'll see is Athens-Walnut Hill Road, and that's where they took half of our farm when they built the interstate down through there. So I grew up in the kind of environment that so many of us did that have farm backgrounds: conventional farm, tobacco, cattle, corn, and hay. And that was pretty much it. Tobacco paid the bills, the cattle you never knew about. And so I grew up doing that kind of work. And when I was 13, I told my dad, I think I'd like to be a farmer. And so he said, well, if you're going to do that, then you're going to have to learn from the best. So there was a farmer in our community who was a big-time farmer with hundreds and hundreds of acres. And so he would take on an apprentice every year. And so when I was 13, I became the apprentice to Raymond Hayes, and I just couldn't wait because I'd already been driving tractors. I thought this is going to be so much fun. So I started during spring break, and I'm 13 years old, okay? So I just couldn't wait. We were getting ready to start breaking ground. I love plowing, I love disking, dragging, whatever it was. And so he took me out to the barn. It was a pretty good size, like a 15-bent tobacco barn. And he said, okay, here's your job. That barn was filled with tobacco sticks, just twisted everything. My job was to organize all those tobacco sticks. I thought, oh, I want to be a farmer. I don't want to do that. Well, it took me all week, filled up 3 wagons to get all those sticks straightened out. And I learned a lesson right there that farming isn't easy, and there's tasks you have to do that are not fun at all, but they're very important for the future. Now, about a year after that, I got the opportunity to drive the Highboy. And the Highboy is a tricycle type tall machine that did spraying of sucker spray for tobacco. I was really excited about that because if I could do that, they trusted me, because it's a dangerous machine. You turn the wrong way, you flip over. So I was a man, and I was really excited about this. So I drove that all day, spraying all that tobacco. That night, I spent all night throwing up. Guess what? I was exposed to chemicals for the first time. That's when I became an organic farmer. But the journey that we've been on here in Kentucky, and our farm, we've been certified organic for, this year will be our 19th year, I believe. We've stuck with that certification, and my wife is sitting back there, and she's a big part of that, maybe a major part of that. But we believe very strongly in what we're doing here in Kentucky. Been very involved with this program here with Oak, and sitting back there by Brian Geyer. He's going to do a session later on, and he's the guy that called me in February of 2009 and said, hey, you want to come over to KSU? We're having a third Thursday thing. We're going to talk about organic farming. And out of that came where we are today. That's when we formed a committee and worked on it for a year and started, and it's just us kids doing things. And now look where we are with this organization. So I'm very happy to be here today and share with you part of our journey and help you in your journey.
My name is Courtney Moses, and I'm from Whitley County. I born and raised there, and my father was the youngest of 13 kids, so they were very poor, and they, had to live off the land and hunting. So I was exposed to that growing up. Also, with the raising of the tobacco, and my uncle raised potato fields, and he paid me $5 an hour to hold 20,000 tobacco plants. So that was the experience that I had, and I also was really just had the gift of art. So later on, I went to college in Louisville for art, and I got a degree in sculpture. And a lot of my sculpture and art was influenced from agriculture and my experience working on the farm with family, and the connection that we have to the land there. So I wanted to go back home and farm. And, of course, we grew up conventional farming. And I did have a similar experience with spraying potato bugs. We call them tater bugs, but potato bugs. And feeling really weird after that, because we had to spray them all the time because we never rotated. And so I knew that I wanted to do gardening differently. So started gardening at home. But then I also found a job with extension through the arts, which was really rare. So I hired on an extension and later became the community arts agent for the county. So both of those jobs kind of intertwined from there. And also, that's when SOG was around. So I met my husband at SOG. And so we became certified organic in 2014. And we have 2 children. So, both working full-time jobs, raising kids. And, the organic has grounded us this whole time, So, yeah, I think that's all. There you go.
Hello, everyone. I'm Daniel Mays, coming to you all the way from southern Maine. Appreciate you welcoming a northerner in the mix here. Yeah, really, I'm already learning a ton being here, and so impressed with the community you all have. I run Frith Farm, which is a certified organic no-till vegetable farm. We're about 3.5 acres of vegetables, and employ 10 to 12 people seasonally, so really intensive. My journey was I taught for a little bit after college, and taught for a couple of years, and then went to graduate school for environmental engineering, was studying energy efficient building design and sustainability at sort of an academic level, and something started eating at me of the unsustainable nature of that for me, of sort of doing computer analysis on a screen. I started, I call it my early life crisis. I went right from grad school to being like, I want to start a farm without really having much experience. So I'm a modern back to the lander, I guess, and but I went for it and learned by doing, a lot of mistakes along the way, but here I am 15 years later, excited to share what I've learned along the way.
I'm excited that we get to have this conversation today. because no matter who you are in this room, no matter the type of farming that you're doing, or even if you're not farming, even if you are here as a support person, we're all dealing with and growing in our work-life balance and our time management. And as has been pointed out, farming is really hard, and not just the physical aspect of it, the entire experience that we're having. So I think conversations like this are really important. The more we get to talk about this, the more we realize we are not alone in this work, and that's a really easy thing to forget when it's, July and it's 9 p.m. and you are still outside and haven't had even lunch yet. So thank you for being here. Thank you for being part of this. I think it's really important that we continue to have conversations like this and build our community in this way. And so I'd like to start with the overarching idea of work-life balance. Our work-life balance lines are blurred so much because this is a lifestyle, not just a career. So we're dealing with demands on our time and on ourselves that other business owners and other people in other careers don't have to deal with. So I guess specifically, I'd like to hear from Keith and from Daniel about this. The question being, what does work-life balance look like for you, and how are you achieving that?
Yeah, it's pretty crazy. For me, my faith formation and along the years, spirituality. I kind of like a centering prayer, time with nature, time in reflection, time in retreats and that sort of stuff. And some of my training as a professional as well is helped me with setting good, healthy boundaries with work, play, family, recreation, and all that sort of stuff. So I think that really helped me over the years. And then as we began to build our farm, and I wanted to mention this, we managed about 70 acres in Breckinridge County. And what made me think of this is Daniel talked about 3 acres. We operate about a little less than 2 acres as it relates to vegetables, but we have about 20 acres in organic hay. We got a number of stands of trees on our property that we're looking at forestry. I think about 10 acres, a little bit more than 10 acres. I say that, and as folks have been to the farm, it sounds like a lot. But when you have a vision and you work at it a little bit at a time, over time, it becomes crystal clear and more intentional and more purposeful. And then in that particular case, it's not as cumbersome and complicated. It becomes a part of your daily routine. And I think that's a part, as we talks about, what's valuable for us. Like family, I've always thought family was a key component of my being as a person, being a husband. Nothing more I wanted to be was a father. And so if I really wanted to do and be those sort of things, it had to be reflective in my actions and behaviors. And I'm gonna tell you, this farming will take every red cent of time that you have if you give it to it. So if you don't demand, and if you don't put expectations in place, put things in place, it will consume you.
All right, this still work? All right. Yeah, resonate with that. With the question and the answer. Work-life balance. So I struggle with this one a lot. I think about it all the time. And I guess I'm excited about how to integrate the two, how to, I think a lot of the energy gets into like separating, putting strong boundaries. I think that's can be important. And I'm excited about how can work be life? How can I be alive and living my life in my work? And that's hard as a farmer, maybe, when, so much has to get done. But I guess my answer has been give away as much responsibility as I can. just, you might call that delegate, but like giving away responsibility, sharing as much as I can. Everything I'm doing, I question, do I need to be the one doing this? Or is there somebody else who can do this? And is there somebody else who would feel more empowered and take more ownership in this operation if they were doing this? And that has been a double win on my farm for removing myself as the sort of keystone of everything that's happening on the farm. I joke, if I'm really good at this, I make myself obsolete, and then I get to decide where I circle back and reinsert myself. Sometimes it works that way. Sometimes I'm running around like a headless chicken, but that's been the answer for me for creating more spaciousness within the work, not necessarily drawing walls around the workday and retreating from that at the end of the day. I will say too, I feel like there's a big difference between when you're starting out as a beginning farmer, starting a business. There's going to be some crazy hours involved in that. I think that's part of the initiation into becoming a farmer. At least it was for me. As opposed to, once you hit 5-10 years in, you need to find a more sustainable, steady state. So I was definitely, working the 100 hours a week early on, and I think that for the first few years, that was an investment that really, my heart was in it, my passion was in it, and that paid off. So that, I want to sort of distinguish that from like you're 10 years in and you're still working like that. Like that's, you're going to burn out.
Larry or Courtney, do you have anything that you want to add to that?
Well, I just agree with all of them that the lifestyle balance that you have, it's a lot of hard work, but you have to find some enjoyment, because you're not enjoying it, then it's not worth it. And so finding that balance, I think everybody has to find that on their own. You can look what other people do, but you have to see what's important to you and how you're going to live out those values, how you're going to live out your why, and embody those principles in what you do, and you will find that balance. But it really starts within you and what you're trying to achieve. I mean, are you just doing it to make money? Are you doing it to make the world a better place? Are you doing it for your family so you can pass on something to them? What are these things that are driving you? And if you search within and find those things, I think then you will be able to find that balance.
I'll just say one thing. Just managing expectations, especially with parenting and what we put on ourselves and how they should be, or how the farm should be, or how our house should be, and the dishes clean, and like all these things. And it's just being able to accept that life is just what it is, and it's not going to get done, and that's okay, and just managing your expectations.
So many farmers, particularly beginning farmers, have a job in addition to farming, right? This is a current unfortunate reality of our food system. So specific to balancing off-farm work and on-farm work, all of our panelists have lived through this. But I guess I would like to hear from Larry. You're retired from off-farm work, but for many years did all the things, and also including the dishes, as Keith just said. And Courtney, also currently you have a full-time job. So I would like to hear from both of you about balancing the two.
Yeah, so remember I told you when I was 13 I wanted to be a farmer? Well, that didn't figure out that way, because I ended up going in another career. I'm a musician, and I was a college music professor for 10 years in Texas. And if you're a musician or an artist, you can't get rid of that. That's not one of those careers you run from to say, oh gosh, I got to get away from this. It's a part of who you are. And so that's a part of who I am. My wife is a retired music teacher. She also taught in college in Texas. And so when we left Texas, and we had to get out of Texas, our first son was born there. I did not want him growing up being a Texan, sorry. I've lived there. Okay, it's a different world completely. And so we had to get back to Kentucky, you know. And one of the reasons we came back to Kentucky was to farm, to get back on the land, even though we were doing this. So I taught at a college here in Kentucky also. And we finally had this opportunity to buy this farm in Shelby County. And so I took a job as the music director at a Presbyterian church in Louisville. So I could continue to conduct choirs. We had an orchestra, doing all that kind of stuff. It also gave me a great deal of flexibility, because when you work in a church, there's a lot of meetings. Those meetings are at night when you're not farming, and so you could do things during the day. Beth was a teacher. She had summers off, so she could do that. And so I had a lot. I'm kind of an outlier in some respects, because I just had this kind of unique opportunity to do something I loved and do something else that I loved. And if you can find that in your off-farm job and balance that with your farm job, that's great. And then as we've gone on, I'm semi-retired. I still work part-time for the church, but it's like 10 hours. You know, I don't do very much except on Sundays and Wednesday nights. Beth is completely retired, and all she has to do is take care of our grandson on certain days. But that's how I was able to do that. And I don't know if that identifies with any of you in your off-farm job where you have that flexibility. And I think that if you have an off-farm job, sometimes it will interfere with what I call windows of opportunities, especially in terms of weather. You know, like I have just cut hay, and it's on the ground, and it's going to rain the next day. I have to get it baled, but all of a sudden, my off-farm job requires me to do something I can't not do, okay? So take advantages of those windows of opportunity that come with weather. And weather's a huge part of farming and taking advantage. You know, there's usually some dry time in February that you can prepare ground. And if you're tied up with something, can't do that, that's a 1 week opportunity usually, and then it's gone. And you don't know when it's going to come back. If you have to get something planted in the ground, you miss that, you can't recover. You know, it's not like having a retail store where you just restock the inventory. You can't do that. So you've got to learn to work with weather, with your other things that are taking up your time. And that's the main thing that I would suggest, you know, when you're trying to balance those things.
And I think that's kind of goes along with what you said about just integrating it, making it work. And that's what I've had to learn also with Extension, which is it's a flexible job. You know, I can schedule programs in the evening, flex time, you know, make sure the high tunnels are open in the morning, work while it's cool outside. But I think the biggest thing is, like, it's very overwhelming. It's just hard and overwhelming. So one thing is it taught me to be able to say no. No in, you know, with Extension you have people, they want you to do this, they want you to teach that, and like you just have to know that you cannot do that. So that was a hard lesson. And then, you know, coming home, and every day we go straight to work, and we love that. That's why we do this. We enjoy working till dark, and the kids being out there playing and helping, and, you know, that's the kind of life we want. But it's just being able to manage it both, where you're not going to go crazy or burn out in your job or your farm, and you know, ultimately we know this is what we want to do. We're always going to be farmers. So how can we make our job work to where we can do both? Yeah, I think that's all I have to say about that.
Keith or Daniel, do either of you have something you'd like to add to the conversation?
I can chime in. I guess I'm a little bit of a different example. I think I've never had an off-farm job. I jumped right in full time, double time, whatever. And yeah, I guess that first winter I tried to do some like snow shoveling for extra money, but I don't multitask well. I think it really depends on your personality, but like I'm like a one-track mind. If something else starts buzzing over here, I'm all discombobulated. So that's true for me in trying to hold two jobs. I found it really distracted from my focus on the farm, and I guess kind of like what you're saying, just those windows of opportunity. I think they're to do with the weather, but they're also to do with like when you're clear thinking, when your energy is flowing, seize those opportunities and funnel them into a business that will grow faster than any kind of hourly wage will, in my opinion.
I guess the question again is how you balancing the off-farm job with your farm work. I don't know. I think the rest of the panels did a great job responding to that. But I do want to say though that I can tell when my regular job interferes with my farming. My farm spirituality starts to be neglected. And I'm pulled to that spirituality, wanting to do more and be more. So maybe may not be the best in navigating that, but I do know that I can tell when it's out of balance, and that I need to be on the farm. And then when I get to that place, nothing can get in the way with my desire to be on the farm working.
One more thing I'm going to say. So where we are so limited in our time, it has really forced us as farmers to prioritize what we do, and instead of growing everything, we just grow the things that we want to grow, and we try to get really good at that. So, prioritizing the quality over the quantity has made it easier, because you're not overrun with weeds, because that's just really depressing when there's tons of weeds. I mean, it's going to happen, but you'd rather it be less. So yeah, just that has expedited that experience, I guess, in narrowing down our focus and efficiency on the farm.
I know when we all, behind the scenes look here, we all had a conversation once before we got here in front of you all. And we, a few of you talked about prioritizing what it is that you want to grow, and I think Daniel, you talked about the importance of a business plan and sticking to it and letting that guide you in your work-life balance and your prioritization of things that are happening on the farm. So I think that, in addition to this creativity and flexibility that you all are talking about, really is important. Yeah. I guess a reminder for all of you to go to Slido and enter questions that you would like our panelists to answer at the end here. Let's talk about labor challenges. Farming is too much work to do alone. Hiring someone is daunting. Then you have the added responsibility of managing people in addition to actually getting the work done. So each of you works with someone else on your farm in one capacity or another, whether they are a partner or paid help. So I guess this question is for Daniel and also for Courtney. What approach do you take to managing labor on your farm?
Hello? Yes. So I have an alternative labor model, and this kind of gets at some of that work-life integration I was talking about. I house employees. I offer them compensation in other forms than just monetary payment. So I can be transparent. They get $1,300 a month stipend, but then they get housing. They get food. Not just food from the farm, but we buy in some food, grocery items, and we provide some cooked meals. Lunches, cooked lunches on a busy workday is an amazing thing for crew morale. We have access to shared vehicles for them. So when I think about the business of farming, often we're looking at labor as a cost, and we're trying to reduce costs. But if you extend the circle out a little bit and include the people in the farm, well, then reducing costs look like how can we reduce their costs So like their cost of living, you know, in my area, rent, it's hard to get a room in an apartment for less than $1,000 a month in the Portland area. So by providing housing, we're reducing their costs significantly at a much lower cost to the farm. And it fosters community. All of a sudden, we're all, you know, living in a little village on the farm, and all the, you know, that fits in with my sort of quality of life, you know, mission statement, if you will. And it really allows, it changes the whole game on the getting out of the hourly labor economy, which to me can feel like a hamster wheel. Like the faster you run, the more you stay in the same place. You know, hourly wages just go up and up and up, and that's just all going to increased rent and cost of living prices out in the world. So by kind of opting out of that system into this more alternative system, yeah, there's just a huge shift in the farm culture.
Hello. So it's just my husband and I and my children. They're learning how to help. But we've kind of had to just, because I know there's this feeling is like you want to get bigger, you want to grow, you know? And once you just get that out of your head, you just take this huge weight off of you, because sometimes you can't, you know? And so me and Paul's really looked at our situation as like, we don't want to grow. We want to just do what we can do, what we can manage, because we have our jobs, and just make it work for us. But sometimes I do get help. We do get help from family, and you know, like stuff like, you know, I got to go to work. Can you do these like mundane things like mulching or cleaning stuff up? You know, like it's not real skilled labor. And that's little stuff like that is super helpful, because when, you know, I'm there, I want to be like doing the pruning and the trellising or whatever stuff that is just more skilled stuff. So yeah.
Larry and Keith, do you want to add anything to this?
Yeah, I'll say that labor is our major challenge. Well, maybe weeds are actually, but labor is our major challenge. And when we, years ago, we had a large crew, and we grew more, we had a larger CSA, and the labor, you know, I was just pretty much hiring kids, friends of our sons who were in high school, and they would, you know, come out and help, and that's kind of how we got by. And then when our sons got older and left, that labor pool kind of dried up. And then I started looking around and found out all of a sudden it's hard to find people to work. And so Beth and I, we did have a full-time employee 1 year. He was a chef at a restaurant in Louisville, and he was taking a break from in the restaurant business. He ended up going back into it, but he was taking a break and worked full-time for us. But Beth and I are both 68 years old. We'll both turn 69 next month in February. We're trying to find a way that the two of us can continue to farm. So we have changed drastically what we do. We have downsized. We're trying to grow those things that are easier for us, that we don't have to bend over. It's kind of hard to do, you know. The bodies don't work like they used to. And so we're in this transition period right now, and some things happened last year that caused us to take a step back for about a month, and we missed a lot of those windows of opportunity that we normally would have. And what's interesting is that we were able financially to pretty much make up all of that. Including, we dropped our CSA last year. I've been trying to drop it for years. I never did like growing all that stuff. And so we finally dropped that model for us. And all of a sudden, when I did the financials, started working on it in October, I said, you know, we made just about as much money as we did last year, working our butts off and doing all this other stuff. So we're trying to work a whole lot smarter than we were. And we're trying to find those crops that have higher value, emphasize those. We didn't even grow some things last summer that are some of our best crops because we missed that window of opportunity because of some health issues. Now we know this year we can go back and pick that up. And we're trying to do things that just the two of us can do, and maybe have some people help. We have some members, some of our customers that like to come out and work. And so that's not a steady form of labor, let me tell you right now, okay? That doesn't work every now and then, but that's kind of how we've been dealing with that labor issue.
Last year, for the first time, we were able to bring an intern onto our property, and then we hired another person part-time, and it was really a really neat experience to have additional labor on the property. And we look forward to continue that process. But at the same token, as I sat here listening to the panel as well, I just have to just remember, why I do what it is that I do. I think you kind of shared something along this line. Am I in here to make all the money in the world, or am I here to enjoy this property, this farm, and experience and interact with other folks? And so I have to keep that into perspective, because I suspect it could be the labor concerns and all that sort of stuff could be like a rabbit hole. You could get going down that rabbit hole and never right the ship and lose the focus why we love farming to begin with.
All right, I have one more question for you all, and then we will get to audience questions. Reflecting back on this idea that it's easy to feel alone in farming, and that in reality we actually have this really great community to rely on. And I guess actually I just want to say I have been traveling enough, not just this past year, but in the past as well, and been part of enough farming communities to know that what we have here is super special. So definitely do not take this network for granted. This is not available to everyone everywhere. Kentucky has a really great, strong farming community. And I hope everyone feels that here today. And if you are new to Oak and new to this conference, I hope you feel free to just start a conversation with someone you don't know, because people here are really legitimately in it to support each other. And it's really not a thing that I have found everywhere. So, speech finished. I guess there are a lot of resources and supports that we have, right? So, so I'd like to hear from you all. Who is on your speed dial, and what are the resources and supports that you can reach for, and that you want other people to understand that they have available to them? And I guess, everyone certainly can chime in, and specifically though, I'd like to hear from Larry, because as you pointed out, you were part of the beginning of Oak, and you have been part of developing this community, and not just the organic community, but the farming community in general. And you have seen how things have changed over time.
Yes, things have changed drastically. When we first got certified, there weren't that many certified organic farms in Kentucky. There had been some earlier, but with the NOP, when it came out, some people didn't want to participate in that, so they decided not to do that. And so the only people that you could depend on are people like John Bell and Max Stone at Elmwood, or Paul and Allison Whittier down in southern Kentucky. These were the people you could talk to. Plus the universities, Kentucky State University with Michael Bomford, an incredible resource for farmers. And Mark Williams at UK and the South Farm and what they were, those were the places you could turn. You could not turn to the extension office because they didn't understand it. So what has happened now is, who's on my speed dial is Oak. That's who I'm going to call. I'm going to get Sarah and Marissa to come out, and they are an amazing resource. And what we have right now, Lisa's right, it's not like other places. We have more technical support now than we've ever had, and more technical support that many states have. So please, please take advantage of these trained professionals who can come out and help you that weren't there before. Also, 20 years ago, you didn't have a
couldn't go to websites and all this kind of stuff. Now there's just so much information. YouTubes and Instagram, there is a wealth of information out there. But if you really need to talk to like a real person, then you need to talk to the Oak staff.
Yeah, and Courtney and Keith, you both in.
Keith is right, but at Extension's defense, I think we should still put the pressure on them to show them that organics is relevant and important in Kentucky, and we need them to stand up and be there for us. So it's like at Kroger, you know, the more organic you buy, the more they're going to have it. And this is like a little off-subject tool, but you got to be like a master planner, you know, and for us, like I usually plan out the year and like say, you know, we're going to go on vacation here. These are the things we're going to do. We're going to go mountain biking. And I put it in my calendar, and then it happens. If you don't do that, it will not happen. So make that time. You want to say something?
I think it's relevant. When I started my application with Oak in that transition process, one of the things that, as I reflect back, that I would encourage any new organic farmer is to develop that community. Start reaching out to people. Start putting people into your Rolodex, because now you're gonna be able to develop contacts. Oak is an amazing organization. They have a lot of technical experience. But when you are part of a community, you have context for the information that's been disseminated. And so if we just got one voice, then I think it's kind of restricted and limited on the depth and the scope of the information that we're receiving. I can recall when I first started doing my price list, I sent my price list out to a number of people for feedback. Some people ghosted me, but I still sent it back out. But if you just send your price list out to one group of folks and not a number of other people, you really don't get that tonal or that context of the information. And the same thing with people who grow in greenhouses. And, you know, I think if you're growing using a greenhouse, you should have on your speed dial a number of greenhouse producers. And likewise, I think we should have as organic farmers, we should have in our Rolodex conventional farmers as well. I mean, some of their techniques and practices and behind the scene things are very applicable for us, as well as you said organic farmers, but before organic farmers, we farmers. So in short, our Rolodex should be as diverse and complex as our farming practices.
Well, you're not in Kentucky, Daniel. I can just shout.
Is it working?
Daniel, while you're not in Kentucky, you still have been doing this for a long time. Who do you reach out to when you are looking for support or have a question?
Hello, there we go. Yeah, I am blessed with a comparable community in Maine of small organic farmers, and there are actually email forums that are super valuable. So if that doesn't exist, I'd encourage somebody to start seed that, because somebody can just send out an email to everybody on the forum, and whoever wants can respond. And there's been really great conversations. That's kind of the go-to, I'd say, of most organic farmers in Maine are those forums. Also, there are books, and like was said, just the internet now it's almost unhelpful how much information is there, because you have to sort through it now. But yeah, in terms of like, it really depends on what your question is. But if it's a quick like, how do I fix this tractor? Like, yeah, YouTube is gonna give you the answer probably at this point.
There are just a few other organizations I wanted to highlight in Kentucky, and I'm sure I'm going to miss someone. But I know lots and lots and lots of people in this room have worked with the Kentucky Center for Agricultural and Rural Development, KCARD, for business planning, getting grants, sort of general business and insurance questions. Earlier, Brooke talked about there being opportunities for all of us to make our voices heard on the state and national level when it comes to policies. And there's another organization in Kentucky that does good work around that. It's Community Farm Alliance. And they are giving a talk at some point this weekend. Also, if you're in Eastern Kentucky, there's Grow Appalachia, really cool things, great support for farmers. And in the mental health space, there's an organization called Raising Hope. And that's definitely a resource to look into if, as I said earlier, you are feeling like you're the only one doing this, because they are there to offer supports as well. I think we are finished with the questions that we had for you, so we're going to move on to audience questions. Did we get a poll together? Yeah. So there's a few things that are about to happen here. One, this is the opportunity for you all to put in your last-minute questions for the panelists. And also to upvote any questions that you really like and want to hear answered, or downvote the questions that you think are less relevant. And then also, we have a question for you all. And in Slido, I'm going to go there too. Well, it says there are no polls. Okay, I'm gonna start asking questions, and then we're gonna come back to this whole, you all might have homework. So questions from the audience. Do you have a retirement plan that involves the farm? This is a great larger picture question. If sort of in general for any one of you who'd like to answer this.
If you say a 401k or a financial advisor, I think of the farm as a succession plan. And that's kind of how I look at the farm for our retirement. Right now, we're looking at signing our deeds over. My wife and I and our daughter to sign the deed over to the farm, and so the last living person will have ownership of that property. We also are allotting those stands of trees to be part of the 401k structure in that regard. And also our retirement has to do with putting property of ours into a trust, and then liquidating some of our funds to help operate the trust, and at the conclusion of that, of our final passing, that we will divide that up into the four children of ours.
What's retirement? So can't seem to do that. I know for us, since Beth and I both had other jobs, we have retirement plans, so we don't have to worry about the farm doing that. But what we are worried about is the succession plan for our farm, which we've started kind of working on. We have 2 sons, daughter-in-law, and they're interested in the farm. Especially our daughter-in-law is really interested in the farm. So we're working on this, how to get them involved in the farm, but they also have full-time jobs that they enjoy doing. And this is right now a work in progress. And it's had some bumps along the way to do that. A lot of farmers' retirement plan is when they sell the farm, and that's how they fund their retirement, because their biggest asset is the land, and the most valuable thing is the land. And there's big demand for land in the state of Kentucky, especially in certain areas of Kentucky. We don't want to have to do that. We don't have to do that, but we do want the farm to be able to continue in a way that is sustainable for our kids moving on into the future.
Similar situation. I'll just let.
Yeah, I'm 40 years old, and I'm already thinking about succession, because I think the way my farm is structured, it can start now. So I'm exploring paths to employee co-ownership, or profit sharing, or some way to give people a long-term stake in the business and security on the land. We're building housing too that's more long-term, so that it can be an organic process, not kind of like, oh no, I'm retiring, who am I going to find? It's like, no, who's been here, who wants to be here, and kind of slowly transition that, whether they're, putting outside money in, or whether they're just putting the sweat equity of being there for a while. So that's what I'm exploring. I got a few years still to figure it out, I think.
Okay, so we've got our behind the scenes situation sorted out here. First time ever at the Oak Conference, we are trying out the polls feature on Slido. So when you are on the Slido site, there's at the top a few tabs. You're probably on the Q&A tab right now. If you click on the tab that says polls, you'll see there's a question for you. And so we're just sort of crowdsourcing information here because, like I said earlier, these topics are things that all of us are dealing with, and we all have something to share. So while we will not, I'm sorry, do you want to? Okay. While we are not sharing this information here today, Oak is going to compile the responses that you enter, and then we will all have this resource after the conference is over. So the question for you all is, thinking about time management, what's one tool or idea that you use or that you plan to implement this year in your own work?
Both for that question, which the panelists will answer, and for any of the questions in Slido, just a reminder that there are helpful humans, and if they would stand up and show themselves, Linnell and Casey, who have the ability to enter your question into a device if you do not have one or do not choose to use one. But that is the way for you to offer your voice into this question and answer. Thanks.
I'll go ahead and ask the panelists the same question, and we could just maybe start with Daniel and come this way. Thinking about time management, what's one tool or idea that you use or that you plan to implement this year on your farm?
One thing we've been using for a while now, maybe a decade or so, is a shared Google sheet for the to-do list for the week. We call it Plan for the Week, and each column is a day of the week, and then each row is a prioritized list of the tasks that need to get done that day. And everybody can log on from their own device. It's a living document, so it's never obsolete. And then at the end of each day, we can drag and drop and use that very satisfying strike-through font on things that have been done, and then drag and drop and reprioritize for the next week. And then there's a column at the end for future projects that you can pull from if you have extra time. But it's a great way to just prioritize and be transparent with the crew, have everyone on the same page, quite literally. And then as a byproduct, you get a diary of everything you've done throughout the whole season, because we start a new tab for each week. So that's just a nice byproduct, which means we don't have to really keep many records for organic certification and stuff when they want dates and what we did when.
So we do family meeting every Sunday night, or whenever we can get it in on Sunday, and we just go through the week, what kids got going on, what do we need to get done on the farm, what needs to be cooked, what needs to be prepped, and that just really helps us. And when we don't do that, it can be chaotic, so that helps.
I like the term chaotic. That describes my time management. Being more of a creative type being, I like to sit around and dream. I like to come up with creative solutions to things, and sometimes time management doesn't fit into that. But I do find that I probably need to figure out how to let technology work for me and not frustrate me. And so that's a goal that I have for this year. I know that this little phone I carry around is just magnificent, and it can do so much more than so I really want to find ways, and I'm open to suggestions. I look out here and see all these young people who know how to do everything. So why don't you mentor me in some of this technology? And Keith is talking about a Rolodex, and I'm looking at people's faces. What's a Rolodex? If you're under 50, you have no idea. So mentor me and help me be a better time manager then.
Yeah, that's a good one. I can't believe I said that out loud, right? I like storyboards. I like to put up our plots, write those down, and I like to talk about when we're going to plant lettuce and when we're going to do this and do that. I love doing that because it helps crystallize. I could be accused of being a tweakaholic. I mean, just tweak all the time and never get anything finalized. But I do like storyboards, writing things down on dry eraser boards, and because it helps keep me grounded and focused. If KDA is here and organic, if they're here, another thing I think would be helpful in time management, if you can have a form that's used more than 1 year. Please let these forms be around 3 to 5 years. I know it doesn't move that slow, but we're a little older. If I could have a form that goes into one renewal period to the next, it would be outstanding. It would help with the time management.
Hello? So, one thing that one thing that we don't do is social media, and we don't have a TV. So I think that not having those two things in our lives gives us a lot of time. Yeah, so.
Yeah. I'm a fellow anti-social media person, so I appreciate you. Taking this question, modifying it just a little bit, talking about funding your farming and buying land. You all came into farming in various stages. How did you manage to do that? And this is actually going to be the last question that we have time for.
Yeah, I think the biggest obstacle for farming is purchasing land, and I think tractors and equipment comes in a close second. If I'm not correct, don't tell me. Tell me later. Saying that. But for us, when we started this in the 80s. We purchased 32 acres, and then we sold that, and then we started again in 2004. And when we were looking for property, it was property $8,000–9,000 an acre. Prime farmland. We couldn't afford that. We found property $1,000 an acre, and we had to go in and put blood, sweat, and tear into it to make it what it is today. And if you've seen our property, my wife and I, we really worked our butt off. I don't want to bash where I'm at because it's beautiful. I love Breckenridge County. But there is a lot of, what do you call that, milestone or limestone and sinkholes and a lot of stuff like that. And it's hilly. It's not good prime farmland. But if you can buy it, for me, I had to buy cheap land. And as a result of that, we was able to purchase land and parlay that to 70 acres now. But we had to get in there and work it. We had to cut down trees. We had to do a whole lot of things to grind up stumps. And in between all that, we found a plot, a half an acre here, an acre there, that was good and tillable. We had to put compost back into it. We had to increase the soil organic matter. It had been depleted. But you can, I say that, hopefully I'm not sounding frustrated, but you can find good, affordable land. And if you want the best land and you can't afford it, what they say is you have a beer budget and want a champagne taste, it'll frustrate the hell out of you.
It's true. If you're a beginning farmer starting out and you're focused on trying to find land, buy land and you're in Kentucky, then that you may want to adjust your expectations. Find someone you could lease some land from. I mean, one of the biggest, most successful organic farms in Kentucky, which is Rootbound, they lease their land and they grow and they've grown and they've grown. It's been a very profitable relationship for them. We own our land. It took us a long. Beth and I got married in when? 1975. Yeah, it'd be 50 years in August we've been married. So, yeah. When we first met, all we talked about, besides our music careers, was finding a farm. And everywhere we lived, we tried to buy a farm. Even I was teaching at Midwestern State University in Wichita Falls, Texas, and we tried to buy a farm while we were there. And if the bottom hadn't fallen out in the 80s of the oil market, that would have gone through and it would have happened probably. So we always wanted to have land. We finally had the opportunity to get land, but we were, in 1997, well, we were in our late 40s, I guess, when we finally were able to buy land. We couldn't do it when we were younger. And so you may have to wait a while if you want to buy land. And like he said, you may have to buy the land that's not that good and make improvements and improve it. That's a long-term process, and that's hard to do. Yeah, I don't suggest that either. So.
We've run out of time. I'm so sorry. See Daniel and Courtney later for their answer to this question. Thank you guys so much for having this conversation. Thank you, Oak, for prioritizing this conversation. I appreciate you all being here. Please keep having this conversation. It's so important. Enjoy your conference.
All right, thanks so much to all of you for being an engaged audience. Thanks to this incredible panel up on the stage. We've got a 15-minute break, and we're going to close the air walls during that time to create 3 meeting rooms. So get some coffee, get some tea, get some stretching in. See you in a few.